Good morning, everybody. It is 7:30 a.m. How y'all doing? Happy Tuesday. It's my spot over here. Used to be. If I had a spot at 9107, it'd be right there. But it has thus been taken over. But I don't know what. I'm not gonna call it junk because then my mom might get mad. Anyway, how y'all doing? What's new? I'll tell you what's not new. It seems to be a water situation. The watering from the water sprinklers do not have the same boundaries as these new fences here. So as far as property line and lot line, with nice neighbors to water the other lawn. Anyway, over here in this back alley. Anyway, how y'all doing? I woke up this morning and I turned on the news. I have TV now. I turned on the news and we have Spectrum. And I didn't know if you knew this, but TYT is available on Spectrum. So I'm wondering how many views they get thanks to being on cable TV and not just exclusively on YouTube. Being a cable news channel. I wonder if it's 3 billion. Reach a wider audience than just those who watch YouTube. But anyway, I woke up for this morning and you know how I told y'all I got a TV. My sister came and she had an extra TV. It was just in her little hutch in the office that she doesn't use. She doesn't really watch much TV much anymore anyway, but she had an extra spare TV. I got it, then I'll set up. Turns out there's a lot of cable news. I was like, okay, there's Fox, CNN, oh, there's MSNBC, oh, there's Good Morning America, oh, there's CNBC, and I guess MSNBC is that article that I told y'all about, Tracy seeing that it's going to be separate from. I haven't seen any evidence of that. I'm flipping through the channels on the TV. 1 second. Anyway, sorry about that. There's News Nation. There's even the Young Turks. So I have a lot of options of morning news, cable news. I'm definitely have been informed, keeping up. So I say, there's all these people giving their talks and opinions about politics. So I say, what? I'm just going to go ahead and do that too. Why not? Maybe people see things going on and they're like, well, what does she have to say about it? Well, let me tell you. So, good morning, another day, another dollar. Happy Tuesday. I have several points of discussion and we'll see where it goes from there. The first is the yesterday executive order about burning of the American flag. Seems to be a topic of contention, debate. I'm wondering if it's going to go to a federal court or something. But there's not much funding for it, so maybe not. I don't know. I think there might have been. I was like half listening. There's a lot of options of morning news, cable news. So I was just flipping through them every time there was a commercial. Next station. So it might have been like a Scalia decision maybe Ruth Bader, what's her last name? Ginsburg. Decision about it, I don't know. But if you want to know my opinion, I think it's quite interesting. They say it's an infringement upon the First Amendment. The thing about the First Amendment is you have the ability to burn the U.S. flag. And you know, I've never burned a U.S. flag, so I really don't have can't really empathize, put myself in your type situation when that happens. Kind of maybe performative. I don't know. But it turns out it's like I think there might be a fine, and there is jail time like up to a year or something like that. So this burning of the American flag, I would suggest you don't do it. And as far as the discussion there goes, because that's what just people have been saying, it's you can't do that. It's a dictator. I guess that's why they call him a dictator. Even though arguably he's been voted to be president 3 times. Arguably. Yeah, this is a dictator infringing on the First Amendment, but you know, burning the American flag. I'm wondering. I'm thinking maybe that might have something to do with the military. You know how you're a military veteran, you get the flag on your casket. So. And yeah, so I'm wondering what exactly, like, how prevalent and popular and trendy is this exercise of the First Amendment right of burning the American flag? What percentage of the population actually participates in such activities, or maybe did since yesterday? It's you may be put to jail for a year for doing so. Maybe we find something better to do. I don't know. But it is an executive order. I think that it's an interesting time. Which brings me to, I guess, the other news was the firing of the Federal Reserve Governor, whose name is Lisa Cook, due to faithfully executing the office as President of the United States. Had to fire her. That's what it said on the last page of the letter that was put out on Twitter. The busiest cul-de-sac in the neighborhood. But I think it was because of mortgage fraud abuse allegations. Something like that. So yeah, there's that too. A burning of the flag. Now, what one could consider a harsh punishment for the counter argument of exercising First Amendment rights. And if you want to know my take on it, I think the angle might be military, but I don't know. Okay? I don't know for sure. But I do know you military, and you get buried in a casket and you have the flag on it. Right? Of which the family gets to keep. So, what else? The National Guard. People are talking a lot about restaurants in DC. So what about weed deliveries? because I know over there they get it delivered. I saw it on the internet somewhere. Is that down? You know how to get them mad, right? Is start talking about marijuana. They hate it. I'm exercising my First Amendment rights, okay? Um, so yeah, they're very much concerned as far as people who are, from what I've seen, people are opposed to taking action of the crime rate in Washington D.C., America's capital, um, by National Guard, what some would say federal takeover. Um, and now their concerns are, who are against it, are with the restaurants in Washington D.C. I mean, the restaurant business is, as far as all the businesses out there, the restaurant business, I would say would probably be classified as volatile. A characteristic and expectation of this restaurant business category, you should learn to live with a bit of volatility. Might be something that people would advise somebody on. Um, And you know, it really makes you wonder. Have you heard those jokes? I've been, when I scroll through Instagram, and I try to avoid all of these like weird photos and posts. So why is this even on my algorithm? I don't want to see it. Look at all these people having all this stuff that I don't. except, except maybe the love of a gentlemanly, generous man. Anyway, I digress. I bring that up too because I'm about to. Anyway. Uh, so there's a lot of jokes. Like they have this dog bark, that like the show of, like a video of a dog, and then it says, "You make fun of my barking, but we've had 0 intruders, so you do the math, Sharon," or something like that. So the joke could be made: why crime is down, but nobody's gonna be eating at the restaurants? What's going on there? It's because crime is down. They're not eating at the restaurants. Crime is down, but they're not eating at the restaurants because the National Guard's in the streets. Maybe with or without guns. I'm from Texas, so y'all know the stereotype and stigma about Texas. I'm not one to argue or debate against it, which is, you know, what I thought this whole immigration issue, immigration reform, illegal immigration, but maybe if Congress does something about it, I don't know. I guess it's not illegal. The legislative branch. Anyway, I forget what I was saying. I'm gonna take a sip of coffee. 1 second. Anyway, I remember what I was saying now. This, I guess it's a lot different. You should take guns very seriously. But as far as being mentally prepared, mentally aware, you know, living in Texas, I have, I guess, a certain mindset that might be different than somebody somewhere else. But it was first the takeover, and then I think a week later, maybe a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks later, it was they're gonna start carrying guns around, the National Guard in Washington D.C. So I think you know, you could say it's escalating. You could say that. Escalating behavior going on of a certain dictator, who I like to call 47 in the general public. Anyway, which I guess the discussion there is Chicago. which I think is where former President Barack Obama's presidential library is. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check. I just remember there was a lot of people complaining about his presidential library. That was back when I used to watch a lot of progressive shows. Only, exclusively. But the National Guard in Chicago is something that's idea has been floated around, and I'm a little sour about it. I like Mayor Lori Lightfoot, so I was a little sad when she got replaced. But I'm not from Chicago. It doesn't really matter. You know, I'm not residing in Chicago. I'm not voter registration in Chicago. So there's that. But I like Mayor Lori Lightfoot. So this little replacement of hers, already first violation. You not Mayor Lori Lightfoot. But the argument there, and this is why I say there's a lot of, I think, 47, I'm sorry, some husband, has quite a reputation, and I think the way people react to him, I think is very interesting. Negotiation and deals are something that should automatically just already be this is an option. I don't know what argument people would have against that. Well, I didn't even know I could have a negotiation and deal with him. Of course you did. Why didn't you? But the new mayor of Chicago, who I saw this morning, is he said he was a former school teacher. So I guess it kind of makes sense that he's such an advocate of social programs. He said no to the National Guard, absolutely not. As far as more police officers, that's inconsequential, at least as far as a specific number of more police officers. But what I'm trying to get at is this, let's see, it seems like 47, he says there's a problem in Chicago. And he says, hey, here's a problem, here's a solution. Problem, crime in Chicago, solution, sending in the National Guard. Which, I just want to say, we've been seeing Noem, Secretary of Homeland Security, because she earned her job. Because of all the connections and experience with finances as governor of South Dakota. I'm just saying, I digress. I'm just letting y'all know we're talking a lot about National Guard and federal takeover of a city. But I just want to remind everybody, because a lot has happened, maybe you forgot, that Noem was the first one to be like, we're going to send the South Dakota National Guard to Texas because of all this illegal immigration. I just want to remind everybody that is what happened. And she's been standing in the Oval Office like, I don't know, like she's important or something. I can say it, okay? It's funny. But anyway, so the illegals, they get deportation flight and hotel. Noem gets military base. But anyway, that aside, I just want to put that reminder in there. Noem's been up there in that Oval Office like almost every day, and we're talking a lot about the National Guard. She was the first governor to send the National Guard to Texas. Was in 2022 with this open border policies that Congress, the legislative branch, was not prepared for. I'm just saying. So here's 47 says there's a problem in Chicago. It's crime. The solution is sending in the National Guard, and then the mayor, the new mayor, not Mayor Lori Lightfoot, unfortunately, he says no. Absolutely not. That's a dictator move. We don't want the military in our streets. Um, what we need is funding. He's cut the funding, and we need funding for these social programs for mental health and all that. Um, to which I say, why don't you make a deal, Mayor of Chicago? Say, and put numbers on it. Why not? We have to be realistic about these things. Having a objective and goal and best possible outcome from the beginning and start, I don't see how that's not responsible. So you put the National Guard in there, you get 2 weeks, 10 days. Maybe we can, whatever. I'm not an expert. I'm just giving examples of maybe how this conversation could go. So you want gonna go on TV say no to the National Guard, but we need funding. You need funding. Chicago needs funding for mental health, which would be in the Parks and Recs department. I don't know. This dependency. I like promoting, as far as mental health is concerned. If you just another side note. But I'm gonna finish my thought, my argument. But side note thought is, I'm all for mental health services and getting the care and treatment and all that. But being here every day, I think things approach to mental health doesn't only have to be the only solution to approach to mental health is mental health professionals and experts. I think also in addition to that should be, stuff that you can do. Maybe going to a park, a chess club, an art studio. I'm really a big proponent of that too. Just this kind of independence, expressing individuality, maybe perhaps even in a group setting. But anyway, that's my personal thought. I just want to add in there. I'm just saying, as far as crime in Chicago, National Guard. Well, why don't you make a deal? Why don't you say, have the National Guard in here for 2 weeks, see how the crime is, and then have A, B, and C possible outcomes and consequences that you might be able to predict, reviewing crime statistics and your, I don't know, what you feel is appropriate for the city. Say, we're going to have National Guard for 2 weeks, and whatever that outcome is for 2 weeks, there could be a projected 1, 2, and 3 outcome, and have a deal there. And then say after that happens, then we're going to get this funding for the social programs, federally funded, for the city of Chicago. Make a deal. Go to the table. I'm just saying, this is something that I think people get tired of in politics, especially it being 2025. Okay? Is this insufficiency of being results oriented. You want to have the argument, oh, Trump's a dictator and all this stuff, but for some reason, he's very results oriented, and maybe that could possibly be the reason why people gravitate towards him. Why people maybe have left the Democratic Party. You got the DNC making how much money? But it's 47's fault because of the lack of funding for the social programs. Even though he has been stating this waste, fraud, and abuse is something that he wants to eliminate in the government by means and mechanism of the federal government. So make a deal. Be a little bit more results oriented, because if you having all these problems and you just state the problem and not have a solution and not have ways, I don't want to say to compromise, but ways to be realistic about things, that's what people get tired of in politics. All of this talk, 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 you know? All of this talk, but there's such a contentious divide between Democrats and Republicans, and we're never going to get along, and therefore there's never going to be a solution. We're grown adults, and we could talk about politics, and I guess the lack of solutions, tangible solutions, you know, is not a good look as far as public relations, communications, special assistants go. So, yeah. What else they're talking about? Oh, this Intel, this 10% government stake in Intel. I saw this one tweet that it was for, and I forget exactly what they're saying. But I think a lot of people were like, oh, that's socialism. Um, government shouldn't have a stake in business. And I'm wondering how much of that is like reflected of parallels the stock market. Because I know, again, at one point in time, maybe Florida's 401ks were with Facebook or something. I don't know. But Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce, Commerce Secretary, he was going on there saying which an argument that I didn't really agree with, but um, Lutnick is not really like, I don't know. You tell me, huh? Not impressed. Whenever you have 47, I'm wondering if by now, at least for me for sure, but as far as general public goes, it's like, well, why are you there? Who are you and why are you there? And as far as general public goes, I don't see how that's, I think that's not that far-fetched, and I have a question. But anyway, his argument was basically, it's something about the CHIPS Act during the Biden administration. It's not good. And the backbone piggybacking off of the CHIPS Act, saying that the federal government does in fact should have a 10% stake in this company Intel. I don't know much about it other than that is something that has happened. I'm not very good with finances. I hope to be, but I'm not very good right now with finances. At least as far as like global markets go. I see them financial reports, and I can look at them. Anyway. So anyway, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said, that has to happen, even though it does have an air of socialism, which is against ideologically of what has been known to be Republican values. And he says it's because of the CHIPS Act, and the government invested that money, so the government should get some sort of rate of return because it was the government's investment. I said, well, I thought when the government did that, the rate of return was the good in society it did, not an actual financial rate of return. So yeah. I didn't really agree with him there, but this 10%, that's quite a low number. It's less than when you tip somebody at a restaurant. So you give somebody a 10% tip at a restaurant, they're going to look at you a certain type of way, right? Say, well, if you couldn't afford to go out and eat at a restaurant, maybe you shouldn't have. 10% tip. Anyway, you should have just got Grubhub. Anyway. Yeah, so those are the talking points I have today. The burning of the national flag. Don't do it. You might get a year in prison. And I'm wondering where that's, what's the motivation? Where's that from, right? you get into the high levels of government, it sometimes you leave things to chance. Sometimes you the one who says, where are the chances? You know what I'm saying? We've got the federalization of law enforcement in certain cities, Washington D.C. and maybe Chicago, maybe not. And yeah, and then this 10% government stake in Intel. I don't know what Intel does. I'm not sure about the CHIPS Act. All I know is I thought Abbott was for it. Governor Greg Abbott of Texas was for it, but maybe not. I don't know. Producing the hardware for all of our electronic devices. So, yeah, I guess that's it. I know there's not a tax on oil and gas, so I'm wondering what this, what can be compared and contrasted between oil and natural gas and Intel. If the government is not taking a stake in the oil and natural gas, why would they take a stake in this connecting you to power, what we would consider in 2025 basic necessities? Well, it is, okay? That's where we're at. That's who we are. I'll tell you what. Anyway, today's Tuesday. Thursday is the day I go over to Kimmy's, and guess what? Tracy is off. So I'm going to get the whole day over at Kimmy's. Not tomorrow, but the day after, on Thursday. It's hot. So anyway, yeah, that's my commentary. That's my thoughts. I guess that's what I have to say. And take a sip of coffee. 1 second. I think this one wants to be on TV. That one was there the whole time I took my sip of coffee. But it probably has something to do with me. I'm being way too egotistical. People have their own lives to live. Over here on this formerly known as Nasty School Bus route. Oh, which reminds me, the Federal Reserve Governor was fired. Termination immediately. So yeah, I guess that's it. I hope you'll have a good one. Happy Tuesday. I'll talk to you later. Maybe tomorrow, considering how much is available on cable news. Anyway, y'all have a good one.